Shalom, Kohalo, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Kakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS and the elder bishops of GMS, as well as the elders that came before them that taught us this truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yahshua. I'm back with the WW3 Daily update. Shalom and salutations to you as well. And we're going to let Dina give us the update, all right? We'll start right here at Joel 3 and 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. I'll read 10:2. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Okay? So, world war is what this is talking about. Right? The Most High is gathering the nations, right? Eventually to the last battle, right? The Battle of Armageddon in the Valley of Yahweh Shaphat, all right? For the great ambush. But anyway, we just want to see how far we are with the gathering of the Gentiles. And that word Gentiles means the nations, other than the nation of Israel. Proclaim ye this among the nations. Okay. Say to the nations, far and wide, get ready for war. All right. And then down here, that word nation, where'd my cursor go? Salakia. I had to change batteries. Lost my connection. Bear with me for a moment while I bring this back. Here we go. Come on. So, yeah, nations, Gentiles. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, proclaim this among the nations, okay? The nations other than the nation of Israel, all right? We don't even have an army, all right? Now, the people that are calling themselves Israelis, right, over there in the land of Israel, they have an army or a military, if you will. But anyway, that's what this is saying. Prepare for war. All nations. All right? And if we go back here, Joel 3 and 2, I will also gather, this is God, the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. I will also gather all nations. Okay? Now, why? To fight in World War III. So this is Dina Amelia Calmetta, 20 hours ago, war drums, right? The gathering. A war drum is a signal, right? That war is coming. Get ready. Russia threatens to bomb. Threat. Wars, rumors of wars, threats, right? News, reports to bomb The Hague. North Korea warns that's a threat of nuclear war against U.S. and South Korea. All right, so everything is in its place, basically. And we're going to let Dina give the update. Go, Dina.
Welcome back again, everyone. It's Dina Calmetta here. And so for today's news, I do have quite a few headlines I'd like to share with you. And I'd like to start with Russia and China, as it is being reported that apparently Putin has stated that the West is trying to stifle Russia and China's developments. Russian President Putin is accusing the West of trying to hold back Moscow and Beijing's development, as the Chinese leader landed on Monday for a 3-day visit to the Kremlin. Putin, in an article published late Sunday night in the China Communist Party's People's Daily newspaper, alleged that the Western world is conspiring to stifle Russia and China by persistently working to split the common Eurasian space into a network of exclusive clubs and military blocs that would serve to contain their country's development. He said that wouldn't work. The crisis in Ukraine, which was provoked and is being diligently fueled by the West, is the most striking, yet not the only manifestation of its desire to retain its international dominance and to preserve the unipolar world order. The sharp remarks from the Russian president were published hours before the Chinese leader arrived in Moscow on Monday to visit Putin. Putin said that the Russia-China relations have reached the highest level in their history and are gaining even more strength. He said that they surpassed Cold War time military political alliances in their quality, with no one to constantly order and no one to constantly obey without limitations or taboos. Now, the Chinese president has previewed his visit to Moscow by declaring that no single country should dictate the international order. His tone for his visit this week to Moscow has been touting improving relations with Russia in the 10 years since he took office, vowing that the transition to a multipolar world liberated from U.S. domination will not be stopped. He said that the world today is going through profound changes unseen in a century. The historical trend of peace, development, and win-win cooperation is unstoppable. The prevailing trends of multipolarity, economic globalization, and greater democracy in international relations are irreversible. Now, in addition to that, the Washington Examiner is reporting that Russia has threatened to bomb The Hague. International Criminal Court judges should watch the skies, according to a top Kremlin official who threatened a violent response to the arrest warrant issued against President Putin. Dmitry Medvedev said that, "I'm afraid, gentlemen, everyone is answerable to God and missiles. It's quite impossible to imagine how a
Wow. That's going to be a video. Salaki, let me go back up. Everyone is answerable to God and missiles. That's huge. Let's hear that again. That is a video, right? That's a lesson. Listen to this.
To bomb The Hague. International Criminal Court judges should watch the skies, according to a top Kremlin official who threatened a violent response to the arrest warrant issued against President Putin. Dmitry Medvedev said that, "I'm afraid, gentlemen, everyone is answerable to God and missiles. It's quite impossible to imagine how a hypersonic Onyx fired from a Russian warship in the North Sea strikes the court building in The Hague. It can't be shot down, I'm afraid," he said. He went on to state, "and the court is just a pathetic international organization, not the people of a NATO country. So they won't start a war," he said. "They'll be scared, and no one will be sorry." The former Russian president issued that retort on the same day that the Chinese president arrived in Moscow. Now, with that said, it's also been reported that Poland is to station the HIMARS near the Russian border. The U.S.-made HIMARS rocket launchers will be stationed on the border with Russia's westernmost Kaliningrad region. According to the Polish defense minister, Moscow has continually warned NATO against increasing their military presence on Russia's borders and almost becoming part of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine due to the frequent weapons shipments. But it doesn't end there. Backed by the U.S. and EU, Poland and Slovakia are sending fighter jets to Ukraine, which Russia has vowed to destroy all the fighter jets donated to Ukraine by the European nations. Now, these fighter jets have been a long-term demand for the Ukrainian government since the Russian invasion at the start of 2022, but NATO leaders have shied away from what they considered a major escalation of their involvement in the conflict until now. In addition to that, NATO Spain is sending more tanks and military vehicles to Ukraine. Now, with all of that in mind, here's a report that I've been meaning to bring to you guys, and it's in regards to Russian submarines off the United States coast. But it's been reported that the U.S. military commanders and experts are sounding the warnings about the buildup of Russian submarines off American coasts. The Russian buildup of naval assets is more expansive than just the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, and it includes seas surrounding the U.S. The Russian Maritime Studies Institute director Michael Peterson has warned that the deployment mirrors the Soviet-style submarine deployments in the Cold War. Now, this will be a persistent, proximate threat capable of carrying a significant number of land attack cruise missiles that can threaten the homeland. Now, to go with that, it's also been reported Russia is keeping 2 cruise missile carriers in the Black Sea as U.S. drone flights over the Black Sea have resumed after the Russian collision. Now, with that said, What has China been up to? Reports are coming out that China has shipped assault weapons and body armor to Russia for their fight in Ukraine. China also approves law changes amid a possible war prep. China's parliament approved changes to laws that would allow it to pass emergency legislation more quickly. The amendment to the legislation law, which governs how laws are enacted, gives the highest body of the national parliament special powers to pass laws after just one review session. It is an important measure to further improve the quality and efficiency of the legislation, so they say. However, many are saying that this is a prep for war. Now, with that said, the Times of Israel is reporting, for the first time since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Israel has authorized the sale of defensive military equipment to Ukraine. According to Walla News site, which cited 3 Israeli and Ukrainian officials, Jerusalem approved export licenses for 2 Israeli companies to sell electronic warfare systems with a range of 25 miles that could be used to defend against drone attacks. Russia has sent thousands of Iranian-made suicide drones to attack targets across Ukraine, particularly power stations and other crucial infrastructure. But the report said that the export licenses were approved by the foreign minister and defense minister in mid-February. Cohen then informed Ukrainian President Zelensky of the decision during his visit in Ukraine. A Ukrainian official told the news site that while the country was pleased with the development, it was still pressing Israel to supply the anti-missile systems, saying that on that, we have a gap. Israel has until now resisted providing weapons to Ukraine. One major reason for Israel's hesitance appears to be its strategic need to maintain freedom of operations in Syria, where Russian forces largely control the airspace. Israeli officials told the news site that the approval of the export licenses was not a shift in policy because the systems are defensive in nature and do not use any live fire that can kill Russian soldiers. So I guess the pressure on Israel is beginning to work. But will Israel give Ukraine the Iron Dome or the David Sling? Because if they do, tensions between Israel and Russia will intensify dramatically and could very well be the tipping point. But I guess only time will tell. In the meantime, the United States and the Philippines will hold the largest joint military drills ever, which is sure to anger China. The U.S. and the Philippines will hold their largest ever joint military exercises this next month. A total of 17,680 soldiers will take part in the annual drills, which for the first time will include live fire exercises in the disputed South China Sea and a simulated defense of a tiny Philippine island nearly 300 kilometers or 190 miles south of Taiwan. The countries will also stage an amphibious landing on the western island of Palawan, the closest Philippine landmass to the Spratly Islands, a flashpoint for Beijing and Manila. A Philippine spokesman for the War Games said that any armed forces has a right to conduct military exercises. It's really a part of our combat readiness. But this announcement comes less than 6 weeks after the Philippines and the U.S. agreed to restart joint patrols in the South China Sea and struck a deal to give U.S. troops access to another 4 military bases in the Southeast Asian country.
As you can see, this is this is going on everywhere. All right, muscles flexing, threats. Right. What happens when it all explodes simultaneously? There's a little left. Let's see how much we're going to listen to.
Meanwhile, over in North Korea, the North Korean leader has overseen drills simulating a nuclear counterattack against the U.S. and South Korea in a warning to the allies who are scaling up their joint military exercises. The North's drills involved a short-range missile launch, but unusually the missile flew from a buried silo, which analysts say would help improve speed and stability in future tests of ICBMs. The KCNA said that the exercises on Saturday and Sunday were designed to boost the country's war deterrence and nuclear counterattack capability, accusing Washington and South Korea of making an explicit attempt to unleash a war against them. The drill also aimed to demonstrate our tougher will to make an actual war response and send a stronger warning to the enemy who expands their war drills for aggression. In the exercises, a ballistic missile equipped with a mock nuclear warhead flew 497 miles before hitting a target under the scenario of a tactical nuclear attack, according to the KCNA. Kim said that the exercises improved the military's war capability and urged the military to stand ready for an immediate and overwhelming nuclear counterattack at any time. The present situation, the KCNA said, in which the enemies are getting ever more pronounced in their moves for aggression against the DPRK, urgently requires that the DPRK to bolster its nuclear war deterrence exponentially. The nuclear forces of the DPRK will strongly deter, control, and manage the enemy's reckless moves and provocations with its high war readiness and carry out its important mission without hesitation in case of an unwanted situation. It goes on finally to report that South Korea and Japan reported a launch of the North Korean short-range missile off the East Coast on Sunday, the latest in a series of missile tests in recent weeks.
Missiles, 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 missiles. She's talked about nothing but missiles in this whole 12 minutes. Okay? And the missiles are the end of the world as we know it. So how close are we? We're very close. Right? You got I don't even know what to call Kim. But what is he calling? He's calling for nuclear preparedness against the US. Look at this. This is nuclear preparedness. Be ready to shoot your missiles. Everything is about missiles. Everything. For everybody.
Allies have been carrying out exercises this month, including air and sea drills on Sunday, involving U.S. B-1B bombers. And the U.S.
that have nuclear missiles.
South Korean navies and Marines are set to kick off their first large-scale amphibious landing exercises in 5 years today for a 2-week run until April 3rd. So things are certainly at a boiling point with these nations, and could
with these nations. And Dina professes to be some sort of theological spokesperson. I cut out the beginning of this whole thing. You know what? We might just watch it.
And could very well tumble us into World War III if it hasn't already.
What do you mean could very well? How could you say that after you broke all of that down, but it could very well? It absolutely will. Okay, if you understand the scriptures.
Now, personally, I think we're already there, at least at the beginning stages.
Okay, good job.
But for the sake of argument, we are definitely watching the prophecy wars and rumors of wars. And as always, I will continue to keep you up.
Good job, Dina. Let's watch your intro. Okay. As long as she doesn't try to break down the scriptures, she's doing all right. Vessels.
Welcome back.
Not bad. Good job, Dina. You make my work easy, okay? Could I make a video like that? She's probably got a great team, and she's the spokesperson. She's the face of it. Or she might be doing all of that herself, and that's good for her. But here's what she's not doing, okay? Let's go back to Joel, all right? Here's what she's not doing. Okay, let's get the missiles real quick. All this talk about missiles. Well, where are they? Let's go to Joel 2. And we'll start at 3. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. Right? Talking about the missiles here. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. Talking about those missiles. Okay? Cruise missiles, nuclear missiles. All right? The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Let's talk about the power in the missiles. Okay, uh, they have a warhead in front of them, and they have thrust of a rocket in back of them. Right, like the noise of chariots on top of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. These missiles are being likened unto an army. Before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. Now this is how they liken them unto soldiers. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Right? It goes on and on about the missiles, right? So here's what she's not doing. She's not going into the scriptures and breaking them down correctly. All right, that's the job of the men of the Lord, the prophets. Okay, so good enough for today. We're getting close. That's what she said. Let's see. Yeah, let's let her say it again. See the missiles here? The whole thing. Basically, what she said is we're real close to the missiles jumping off. Let's see what she says right here. Go ahead, Dina. Good job, nonetheless.
So things are certainly at a boiling point with these nations, and could very well tumble us into World War III if it hasn't already. Now, personally, I think we're already there, at least at the beginning stages. But for the sake of argument, we are definitely watching the prophecy wars and rumors of wars. And as always, I will continue to keep you updated. But I'd love to hear from all of you. So please do leave your comments below this video.
Okay, so now how do we know how soon this is going to jump up? Well, prophecies have an order to them. Everything is being done decently and in order. And before we get here, let's go to Revelation. All right. Before we get here to, and the same hour, Revelation 11:13, the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. Okay? Well, this is the end of the world as we know it. And when I say world, specifically, this is talking about Babylon the Great, which is also known as America. All right? And this great earthquake is when all those missiles fall on America, North America, the United States. The 10th part of the city fell. That means all of the United States, all 10 FEMA regions, or what they call zip codes. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. What does that mean? That means everyone died because of the nuclear missiles. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. 7 means completion, right? And if you go above, I lost my cursor again, it'll come back. Hopefully. If you read 12, start reading at 12 up here. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. This is the extraction, okay? And the extraction will take place right before, right? The same hour was there a great earthquake. Salakia. They heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. That's the extraction of the POWs. Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, Timberlands, the one that they call the elect of Israel, the Israelites. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. What happened? They got beamed up into the clouds. They ascended up to heaven in a cloud, if you understand what that means. And their enemies beheld them, okay? Your enemies are the ones that got you in the POW camps, all right? And right when that extraction happens, right after that, the same hour when those missiles hit. Okay, and Dina can't do this. Dina can't go in to the scriptures and tell you what's going to happen. All right, how did the 10th part of the city fail? Well, there was a great earthquake. Well, what caused the great earthquake? Well, those missiles did. Okay? And right before those missiles hit, this happened. Somebody, they, heard a great voice from heaven saying, "Come up hither." And they, the elect of Israel, ascended up to heaven, the sky, in a cloud, a chariot. And their enemies, who's there? The elect of Israel, they, and their enemies beheld them. Okay? And if we go to Psalm, the 83rd chapter, I'll show you who our enemies are and who they is referring to. Okay, over and over and over. So we'll end it right there. We will see you tomorrow, which is Wednesday. We hope that the elect will edify you, brothers and sisters. With that, I'm going to say shalom.